D.V.I.'s Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Like a motherfucking smack addict. And as you can tell by today's thumbnail, yes, indubitably, I'm going to talk about my historia, my history in Tracy Prison. DVI, Gladiator School, the Central Valle Reception. Ooh, indubitably. In a menudo style or direct fashion, yes, indeed, I did some time in Tracy Prison. I did a few trips to Tracy. I did a violation there. It was my reception, being from Merced, California, the Central Valley, the 209 area. Don't get it twisted. That is where they placed us when we were on our way to a main line in prison. Now, of course, there was a main line there, but the main majority of DVI was a reception area. This is where they housed everybody from the Central Valley that was going through the prison system. You would go through there, Sasuke. Not everybody, but the majority. You would go through there, and Sasuke, it was what it was. And oh, was it not a good place? Let me tell you something about Tracy. There's an intricate history into DVI. Okay, if you turn the pages on the history book, you'll know that this is one of the places where a lot of the gladiator wars were fought. And when I say gladiator wars, I'm taking it back to the 60s and 70s when Vatos were really establishing and planting flags on yards throughout the California prison system. Okay, north and south. Yes, they've always sent Sureños to Tracy. They've always, of course, had Norteños there. So it was always going down. You know, the wars were pretty prevalent back in the 70s and 80s. Now, when you fast forward and get into my era, 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, things of that nature, what happens is you had it well established. Okay, Tracy was established for the Norteños. As far as the Sureños, this was a reception. They had their own building. They had their own area because it was on site. Now, it was a funny thing to me because being on the main lines, Susanville, Jamestown, things of that nature, there was always a mutual respect. It was always respect before anything when it came to the adversaries. Any adversaries, not necessarily Sureños, but anyone's. I think the only ones that it was on site with, no matter what, so I don't care which way the wind's blowing, were the perros chatos from Fresno, the bulldogs. Of course, with them, it was always get off exactly and right where you're mad at. Period, plain and simple. But when it came to the Southerners, it was more of a respect thing. And we programmed on the same yards. You're on your side, we're on our side, handball shit. That's what it was. But Tracy was different. You know, being a reception, it was on site with everybody and anybody at any particular time, depending upon if we were at war with them. Southerners being they were the opposition, we were always on some lightweight war shit. But we did have a lot of things going on with the whites as well as the Africanos, you know. We were pretty good with the Crips and the Bloods, Kumi Cats being from the Bay Area. I wouldn't say that we necessarily got into too much beef with them. There was a little bit back and forth, man. And of course, the homeboys that were doing the back and forth, bumping baking soda breath in the cell doors were dealt with swiftly. They were removed off the yarda. They were checked. They were handled because anyone knows that being a Norteño, your own people don't wolf. You know, that's not part of the game. It's never been like that. It should never be like that. That game ain't never going to be like that, period. Anyway, so Tracy Prison. The first time I rolled up there, I remember just looking around. I had heard about it. You know, being in CYA, there was homeboys that were catching M numbers and they were going straight up to Tracy, you know, because of pegadas or whatever they were doing in YA. They would get charged as an adult and boom, boop, 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 boop. See you later. They were on that green goose to Tracy. So I had always heard about it. And I had always heard about the history and a lot of the details into a lot of the murders, a lot of the bodies, you know, that happened in Tracy Prison. It has a very deep, rich history, man, and a horrific one at that. You know, I knew that going to Tracy was that first step into going to that prison system to becoming a man and to becoming a real gangster in the gang life that I was living. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was eventually going to happen. You know, it was only a matter of time. It's a matter of time. Woody. It was only a matter of time before I ended up in Tracy. And I remember pulling up. And the first visual I had of Tracy was, man, wow, that's a big yard. You know, I thought all prison yards were that big. Tracy having one of the biggest yards in California Department of Corrections history. Very big, gigantic yard. Weight pile being way in the back end of it. A lot of bar work now. Of course, there's no more weights. It's all bars. And then there's a tower right in the middle. So it can hit anyone in a 360 fashion. Handball courts being on the left-hand side as soon as you walk out to the yard. Big, gigantic handball courts. Everybody had their designated handball court. Of course, it was in reception, so we pretty much had action at whatever handball court we wanted. And then to the right side being the Oyo K wing. So I remember pulling up on that gray goose or green goose at this time, and pulling up, shackled up, and I'm looking. I'm looking to see what I see because I'm trying to keep my awareness up on what's going on in this prison. I ain't gonna lie, butterflies were in my stomach. Mariah Carey. There was butterflies all over my stomach, in my stomach. I was nervous. I was nervous, and that's natural. I was more at the point where, okay, I'm not gonna let my nerves overtake me, but at the same time, it's like, I made it. But this is Tracy, right? There's a lot of history here. So we pull up to Tracy, and I'm chopping it up with a couple other homeboys. A couple Africanos were on the bus. And everyone's, there's a few people that are fish at the same time, first termers. That's another word for first termer, the fish. So everyone's kind of looking around, asking questions. There was a couple of veteranos that have been around the block in the 6'4" several times. They're like, the only thing fucked up about this place is the food and the agua. I would find that out. So we pull up to Tracy, and the first thing I see is the yard. And then there's it looks like a billboard. I wouldn't say a billboard, but it's kind of like a big plaque that's there. And it tells you who's on lockdown. And it said Norteños and whites on lockdown. They've been on lockdown from this date to this date, right? A long time. These vatos had been on lockdown for almost a year. I'll say, good Lord, right? Let's get just a year straight lockdown. They don't play. And that's one thing about Tracy is they'll slam you down and they'll leave you slammed down. They don't give a shit. You can go to Tracy 3 or 4 times on violations and you guys are still on lockdown. Your particular group segment that you're from. Tracy didn't play. Anyway, so we roll up. We go to R&R. We pull around the back. We go through R&R, which is reception. And they quickly house us, okay? And I remember I got pushed to J Wing. Now, J Wing at the time was a fully functioning active Norteño block. You had H Wing, E, J. Of course, you had West Hall, East Hall. Then you had L Wing. And then you had K Wing, which was the Oyo. Okay? And then they had the main line, which was, I think, was X dorm at that time. It was like a level 1 or level 2 main line. And if you got to stay there, the wind was blowing in your favor and in your direction. Everybody wanted to stay in Tracy that was from the Central Valley. Of course, because you get visitas, you're right there at home. I never got that action. Anyway, so I never tasted the main line in Tracy besides reception. So I get to J Wing, and I remember getting there, and the first thing I hear as soon as I pull up or as soon as I'm walking through the doors is, new arrivals on J, new arrivals on J, right? Like, what the fuck you mean, new arrivals? Right there, I'm here, bang, bang. I get there, I get settled up with the homeboy named Cisco de Sunnyvale, okay? Good vato, righteous individual, kind of young in the game, man, but down for his individualism, meaning that he's down for his motherfucking Norte cause as an individual, right? But it's got love for all the homeboys. So the embracement of the canalismo is there, and I get in there, and he quickly gives me the rundown. Oh, yeah, bro, we're on lockdown right now. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-boop-boop. Okay, and we were on lockdown at this time due to some stuff that had went down with the white boys, but we were coming off lockdown very soon. So it was all good in the neighborhood. Anyways, I get there. I start asking if I have any homeboys from Merced. He quickly can't tell me nothing, but what he says is I need to do my 5-on-5, write shit down, shoot this wheeler this way, that way. I make my fishing line and I start to proceed to fish. Now, first thing I'm going to do is give me a drink of water because I'm thirsty, right? I said, fuck, this is Tracy prison, and I'm nervous, but I ain't showing the homeboy this. So I go to get me a vaso of water, right? A little cup of water. And indubitably, just like the horror stories, the water was brown. Almost to the point of cafe. It looked like a fucking thing of chanate. Straight coffee, right? I was like, what part of the game is this? Oh, it's the whole part of the game, right? This was just the piping. This was the old school water of Tracy that I had heard so much about. It was a fact, right? So anyways, boom. I understand that that's the way it's going to go. The homeboy says, hey, we got a stinger. He shows me what a stinger is, how to make a stinger. And so we warm up the water to kind of purify it, right? So I'm like, son, I'm thirsty though. He's like, hey, I mean, you can drink it if you want to. Nah. Yeah, I'll hold, right? So I was going to hold on that. Anyways, of course, man, we let's start flying. Within a couple of days, I get cleared. I get cleared as an active Norteño, and the embracement is there in the household, right? So now, of course, people are getting at me, letting me know exactly what's up, who's there, who's on the roster, beep, boop, 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 what's going down. And this is just the Northern Plight. I'm sure every different group had their thing going on. I could only speak on me and mine's at that point in time because that's what I was repping. That's where I was from. I wasn't caring about how anyone else was doing their business as long as their business didn't blur the lines of my business, okay? Or our business at the time. So the embracement was real, and I was being told that we were going to be going to Yarda in the next few days, which was cool because I actually wanted to get out. You know, being in county jail, you don't really get too much yard. Our yard was caged on the block in Merced County Jail, so I wanted to get out there to a big yard, get me some fresh air, and see if the wiggle was really still real. Bang, bang, right? It was. Anyway, so the homeboy starts giving me the rundown to Tracy, and it's tiers. Okay, it's tiers. We were on the second tier. He was telling me which cells the homeboys were in, who was who and what was what to the best of his knowledge. Now, you got to understand, not everybody knows who's in position within the COC when it comes to the Norteños, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, not everyone's supposed to know the whole business, nothing but the business, so help them God. They're just supposed to know what they know, and that's enough. But I'm kind of figuring it out on my own. If you look around, you can see whose cell people are going to. We had tier tenders that would walk up and down the tiers, and they would pass things for us. And we always had 2 Norteños as tier tenders, pretty much placed there for the benefit of us. And then you had an Africano. So everything was good in the hood. The first time that we did the program shutdown tripped me out. Okay? Now, any Norteño, Sureño, white, black, it doesn't matter. If you've been locked up in the California Department of Corrections and other states as well, there's program shutdowns as well as the gallo, the one that wakes you up. And it just happened to be that this day my celly was the gallo. I didn't know, right? So about 5:30, 6 in the morning, this Vato, we get up, we roll our mattresses up, we're gonna work out. He's like, hey, I'm gonna do the program wake up for the homeboys. And I was like, what part of the game is that? Right now, I already knew being in the block in Merced County Jail about our program, you know, our shutdown and all that. We do that in the county jail righteously. But I didn't know how many homeboys were in this block in Tracy and how loud it was going to be. And oh, yes, I found out. So he proceeded to do Buenos Dias, Dispensa la Tira, Buenos Dias, you know what I mean, to all my Norteño homeboy. And then he did the wake up and the whole place erupted. So okay, everybody, if you weren't up, you were now, right? And I felt that sense of pride, that sense of belonging, that sense of, damn, homie, we're deep. For the first time in my life, we were actually deep. Okay, I'm so used to being in CYA and being up shit creek with half a paddle and trying to row my boat gently down the stream that I've never been in a predicament where we had the upper hand or we were the majority. This was something different from me. And I ain't gonna lie, I liked it, you know? So anyways, we went through the motions and then of course we busted down and did our first machina. I was already up to par being in Merced County Jail. If you don't get out of that county jail up to par, you ain't gonna make it. Period, plain and simple. So we bust down. The homeboy's a bigger dude, so he's rolling and rocking and rolling with the punches, but we get it. Next thing you know, I get a wheelie under my door asking me, you know, certain questions about certain homeboys in Merced that people wanted to know about. Of course, I write everything down. I shoot that out. They tell me, man, they want to give me a position, and I'm known now as the tier security. So I was the TS. Okay, so I got the little TS. It's like, I'm doing big things. Right? I thought I was doing big things. Basically, I was the one, not in charge. I wouldn't say in charge of my tier, but the one that's going to catch the fucking, all the bullshit if something happens on that tier. Bang, bang. You know, there's always got to be someone that catches that. So anyways, I'm responsible. The responsibility is big. It's put on my plate. So I didn't turn it down. I said, I'm going to roll with it. And it was what it was. So I start to function. Of course, we hit the yard. Okay, no, we hit chow first. Let me give you guys the whole rundown because you know what I mean? I forget. It's been a minute. So we ended up going to chow first. That's what they let us do before they put us on the yard. Now, we had been getting served our sack lunches and our trays inside our cells the first few days that I was there. But remember, like I said, we were just going to come off lockdown. So they wanted to transition us to that yard. You know, they already knew it was going to go down. Or I didn't even fucking know it was going to go down. They did. You know, the Placas knew more than I did. I found out. But anyway, so we go to the chow hall. And of course, there's nothing momentous there, man. You walk in a long line down a long hallway, bust a couple rights and beep, boop, boop, boop. You're there. You go in the chow hall. Everyone's having light conversation. There's placas walking around. We ate the little cinnamon roll. So hey, I'll tell you, as the wind blows right now, that was the best cinnamon roll I ever ate in my life. It was about this big. You got to put peanut butter on it, and it was going downtown Julie Brown. It was bomb. Anyone that's been in Tracy, they'll tell you the cinnamon roll smacks. It's world renowned, okay? So I'd rather go to Paris and get one over there, but I'll settle out of court for a Tracy cinnamon roll any day. So anyways, I'm kicking back. I eat it, me and my celly. We get back to the building, and it's time to go to yard the next day, okay? And this is where the game changes. So, of course, they release you by block. and it's one or two blocks that go out. We were going to go out with H wing at that time, and I believe E. I can't call it like an alcoholic. It's been a minute, but I think it was J, E, and H that were going to go out together. So as we're proceeding to go out, we walked down this hallway and we're searched as we hit the yard, right? You walk straight out to the yard. On the right-hand side are the cages of K-Wing, which is the oil. You're not supposed to fraternize, but you see homeboys getting it. So kind of you look. Anyways, we go straight. Now, the area of the Norteños was way in the back to the right-hand side of the bars. This was our area. Of course, you had some of the whites that were on the left-hand side, and the Africanos kind of went in between. They were in the middle. There were no Sureños on the yarda at this time. Like I said, it was a reception. It would have been on and cracking, so administration didn't put us together. It's just the way the cookie crumbled, you know. I'm sure if Norteños went onto their yard, beep, boop, 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 it would be bang, bang time. You know what I mean? In menudo. Straight up. So anyways, this is the way it was. But I remember going out there and getting at a homeboy who was in position. I'm not going to speak his name because he's still active and he's still doing his thing, pinta bound. But let's just say he was as real as it gets. He was a real one from the area. And so we started chopping it up, and he knew a lot of my homeboys from my audio, and I knew a couple of his homeboys. And so we hit it off pretty good. And so I automatically knew without him telling me that he was the one in position, right? He was the one, but pretty much he had the llaves to that yada without him telling me. My awareness was up to par enough so I knew. So he kind of let me know, like, hey, it might go down, bro. Just stick close with me. Stay right over here on yard recalls when it goes down. You already know what time it is. Little did I know that there was a removal in the works. Okay, and that's one thing I could say about the gente, about the people at that time was every time we hit the yarda, you better get as much fucking sun as you can and do as much dips as you can, because you're going to be going back to the yard anytime soon. Now, mind you, we were just coming off lockdown, Tracy prison. So it doesn't stop. The shit don't stop till the body rots, right? So we go out there. And like I said, there was going to be something that was going down, I guess. And I don't know the details to this. Salvato had fucked up along the way. He had been in San Quentin. There was a question mark on his name about him not participating in something that happened with the homeboys. So he was going to be dealt with, removed, right? This was my first time actually seeing a removal besides the Merced County Jail. We had a couple little things there. You know what I mean? I ain't going to say what happened exactly, but I'm just going to say I was involved, right? A few things that had happened, but this was going to be my first seeing my first removal in prison, in Tracy, actual real shit, gladiator shit, right? So I kind of sat back and watched it HD. And what happened was we were going in on yard recall, and as soon as they started to release the first line to go back in, this Vato started to get hit viciously and violently. I heard a little screaming and squealing. I tried not to turn around to look at it because I already knew what was going down. Like I said, I was already put up to par and put up on game on what was going to happen. And let's just say he got poked up pretty good. People got snatched up on that, and he got carried out. Immediately, the yard was down. We were out there on the yard for about a good half hour. They started to bring us in one by one, strip us all the way down, and make us take our clothes back to our cell. I get back to my cell. My cellie's like, damn, it went down again. And that was it. From then on, that was the only time I tasted that yard. I never hit that yard again that trip because we went on lockdown. You know, we went on lockdown. They were like, man, fuck you guys. We give the Norteños one chance. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. Well, we didn't. We blew, right? We didn't miss our chance. Shit had to be handled, and shit happened. That's just the way it was. Wheelers were flying, and we proceeded as such. The daily grind in Tracy was basically you and your cellie chopping it up, war stories, and just being stressed out together. Now, I will say this, the cells were pretty small, not as small as San Quentin where you're doing this, like Micro, right? Not that small, but they were filthy. We cleaned them to the best of our abilities, of course, man, with what cleaning supplies we had. And I remember the windows were all broken out in the back, and you could hear nothing but screaming and yelling and fishing lines flying everywhere. People were literally making darts and shooting them across and fishing all the way from one building to the next. And it's a pretty far distance. I mean, people are very innovative when they're locked up in Tracy prison. Now, I would hear a lot of alarms. It was going down in other parts of the prison, but you never had action, man. Like I said, just like any other prison anywhere else, once you're on your building, they try to keep you isolated to that building. And it being a reception, the only time you really got off that building was when you were going to like medical or like some type of conference with like a parole agent or something. I remember going to medical. They put us like in this big, like it looked like a little yard area right there by medical. And I was chopping it up with the homeboy Boy from Gilas and a couple other homeboys. and it was all good in the hood, man. This was my first time being able to really fraternize with homeboys besides the little old time I was on the yarda. And that was good. But as far as Tracy, there's a big history there. Okay, there's a big history. That was my experience, my first time. Of course, I went back a couple times, one time on a violation, another time on a new case, new charges. And it got a little bit more icky sticky, man. I got involved in a few removals. I got involved in basically making a couple removals happen. I think I've spoken on that about the crow from Tracy. And just a couple other things, and that's just how it was in Tracy Prison, especially in reception. It was a dangerous place, but it was more boredom than anything. Now, I know back in the days, bang, bang, it was going downtown, it was going down. They had a big main line there, and they used to have, a lot of wars. That is actually one of the places the Sureños and the Norteños, first established. Tracy Prison has always had that history. It's always had that stigma of being a place of gladiator wars. They sent a lot of youngsters from CYA there, and so they gave it that. Them YA babies, they tear some shit up. No doubt about it. Bang, bang. Anyways, that was my little history, man. My first little step, my first little taste of DVI Tracy Prison. Like I said, it was nothing too impressive, but at the end of the day, man, I was there. I've been there several times. And that's just what it is. I have been to the oil back in K-Wing. I have functioned with the homeboys on the yardas. I have done a little bit of everything, but at the same time, man, it doesn't make me no ghetto superstar or make me anybody better than anyone else. All it made me, personally, I'm not saying anyone else, was a baboso because I kept getting caught and kept going back. Bang, bang. Anyways, with that being said, man, just think about it before you're out there doing crime and you think that you can go hang in Tracy. Of course, Tracy Prison is now gone. They've shut it down recently, but there's a lot of other prisons that are just like it, man. So before you want to go over there and drink some sticky-ass dirty water and kick back and smell farts all day, that's up to you. Anyways, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. Hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of that day, this day right here and that one that you're living, it's all about you and your familia, man. What are you going to do? Bang, bang. You already know what it is, man. Hit that like and subscribe if you like this. If you don't, hit that thumbs down. Heavy as the head that wears that Golden State crown. You know what it is? Bang, bang, the gun. Tracy sucked, man. That's just real.